All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon. I don't know who schedules these things, but for some reason, we got this big notice last week that today, Thursday at 5 o'clock, they're going to shut the power down in the building.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. There are radio stations in this building that need to put out radio shows. Not a good
Yes.
time to do a power outage. It's ridiculous to me. So what we're going to do to prevent any snafus, if you missed it last week, Anthony Simons joined us in studio for an entire hour to talk about basketball, his foundation, and the big event he's got coming up August 28th out at Topgolf, his inaugural Topgolf Invitational, which raises money for his foundation, bealight.org. So we're going to replay that at 5. So if you missed Anthony, you'll hear everything that he's got going on in his life. We love
It was,
Ant.
by the way, a great hour.
I enjoyed it. And he's got a nice family, too. His mom's a sweetheart.
Yep.
He's got good people around him. Anthony Simons is great. And so that's coming up at 5 o'clock. I got to tell you, some of the shenanigans that have been going on in my life the last 24 hours. So it all started last night when I got home. I worked out yesterday, and I got home, and I had to feed puppy shots. And that's when I realized, like, where's my watch? I didn't have my watch on. And the watch that I've been wearing lately is a Father's Day gift. And let's just say that it's not a cheap watch. Let's just put it that way. A very nice watch. So anyways, I don't know where it's at. And I had worked out yesterday. So the first thing I did was hit up Luke. And I'm like, hey, did I leave my watch behind at the club? And he texted me back and said, no, I don't see it. I was like, that's a problem. I wonder if I left it at work. So I looked all around at home and couldn't find it. Looked in my workout bag, couldn't find it. Went through my car, couldn't find it. Normally, I have it on all the time unless I'm here at work. Sometimes I take it off during the show and sit it on the desk right in front of me. And the radio station, we have a different work environment. I've got a desk out here on the floor that I rarely use once a month when I'm putting reports together. Anything else I take off, I have right in front of me on this desk, my computer, everything else. And then when we're done with the show, I pick up my stuff and then I leave.
Yeah, we're self-contained here.
Yes. So I scoured through, checked out everything at home. And, of course, it's getting later on in the evening time. And I'm like, I got to get up early because I want to be here. I want to do this.
Are you panicking?
Yes. Yes, because when someone gets you a really nice gift, the last thing you want to do is say, I lost that gift.
I lost it.
You feel like such a loser. And so I'm in full panic mode. And it's things like this that give me anxiety. So late at night, it's after 10 o'clock, I drove down the hill, got some gas, and I drove out to the station. So I came all the way out here from Vancouver back to the station.
No.
And I came in just praying that the watch would be here on the desk. No watch. Went to the control room where Shacker's at, didn't see the watch. And so I knew it wasn't here. And so that's unfortunate. So then I thought, well, I'll just drive and swing by the club where I work out. Luke's club is downtown Portland. I have a key so I could let myself in. And so I went in and looked around. But I was in full panic mode, and I did it real quick, and I didn't see it. Left and drove home. And then it's one of those things where I'm sitting there, and I'm like, when you're gripping about something, so you think about it when you go to sleep.
Yeah,
You're probably
no
thinking
sleep.
about it throughout the course of the night. The first thing I did when I woke up was think about where my watch was at and couldn't believe that I lost it. And the stress from that caused me to forget my golf watch. So I got to the golf course this morning, no golf watch. So I played blind today with no yardages or anything, which is very annoying, by the way.
Man.
The first time this year, 66 rounds of golf, and it's the first time I haven't had my Garmin watch with me. I was just like, you got to be kidding me, but that's par for the course. So to add the perfect cherry on top of the sundae, well, I'll get to that in just a moment. So I think it was around hole 9. So keep in mind, I called Luke and said, do you see my watch there? No. Then I stopped by the same club later that night after I left the station, like at around 11:30 at night. I couldn't see it. I didn't see it. As I am getting up hole 9, I checked my phone, and I had a text message with a picture of my watch from Luke saying, guess what I found on the chair in the side room. I had put it on the chair when I was getting changed into my workout gear, and I had slid, I guess the chair was pushed underneath the desk. So when I went and looked at it, or looked last night, I didn't see it because it was up underneath the chair. So I took a big sigh of relief and I was thankful, right? Well, in my panic this morning,
Oh, now what?
I went online and found the identical watch and I bought it,
No.
a replacement, right? And then, of course, I get the text message from Luke that he found it. And so I'm like, oh, crap. So luckily, I was able to call the site that I ordered it from and put a cancel on that order. And they said that was no problem.
Oh, good.
And I'm very thankful because that was a sizable chunk that I did not want to spend, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like I had hit the jackpot. So I was happy to finish out my round. Well, then you and I were planning to meet here at a specific time. So I get home and I'm getting ready and I'm doing, I shave and I'm doing all this different stuff. And I'm doing some man grooming. Let's just put it that way. I keep,
Uh-oh. I don't. Do I
no,
want to hear this or
no,
not?
but I'm going to tell you anyways
Okay.
because it is pretty, it's just ridiculous. So I don't like extra body hair. So I try to keep everything nice and trim. I just like I like being clean. I don't like extra hair, so I get rid of pretty much everything. So as I'm using my special, I've got a Norelco. It's a beautiful razor. It's
Hmm.
like an electric shaver for your body. Well, as I'm trimming the nether regions,
Oh.
I clipped my bag, and all I
With
can,
an electric shaver?
yeah, I nicked the bag, my bag, and I couldn't get it to stop bleeding.
Oh,
Blood
my
was
God.
just coming out and it was coming out and I couldn't get it to stop and it's dripping on the floor and I'm like, I am a complete mess right now. So I take my shower and I've got blood dripping out in the shower. I
Ugh.
get out of the shower and I'm still dripping. I'm like, I can't do this is not good. How am I supposed to function with this? Right. So I'm like, how do I get this to stop? Because I didn't want to put like underwear on and have blood seeping through or whatever. So finally I'm like,
I have an idea, but you go ahead because I have an idea what you could do. But
well, I'll tell you what I did. So I found the box of Band-Aids.
oh, Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after using some tissue, one of the deals where and it's not easy to get down, the whole thing is just not it's just very difficult. So I'm using the tissue to keep the blood, keep the area dry. And I'm trying to time it to where I can remove the tissue and then plop the Band-Aid on there. But it's not exactly what you consider a flat surface and not a flat, smooth surface. It's more of a wrinkly, stretched out surface.
I know. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know how those things work.
Well, it took me multiple attempts to get the Band-Aids in the right position to where I could stop it. And after multiple attempts, I finally got the first one on, and then I knew that I was going to take more, so I put another one, and about 4 or 5 Band-Aids later, I got it secure.
So that was a deep cut?
Enough to where it was bleeding profusely because of the stupid razor. So anyways, I am sitting here right now doing live radio with you with my bag Band-Aided up from my nick from an electric razor. And that was just a complete hassle. A complete hassle. I don't know why it is where you nick a certain part of your body and, your forehead bleeds, a lot of different things. Just be careful when you're man grooming. That's all I got to say about that. So there you go. That was my last 24 hours. Near heart attack from thinking I lost my watch to purchasing a replacement. Then I found out that I still have the watch because Luke found it. I was able to put a cancel on the order. And then through man grooming, end up with a nick that resulted in multiple drops of blood. And now I've got to go back home because I was in a hurry, right? So I got to go home and make sure that I don't want blood lying on the floor. I don't like mess. I don't like stuff like that. So that's my deal. That's my day. How's that sound? Can you top that one, Godfather?
I had an experience like the watch one. I had that kind of experience before.
Yeah.
Where I had to order something else, and I don't want to get into it right now because it's really embarrassing.
Was it a gift that was given to you?
It was a gift I bought for somebody else. It didn't show up.
Yeah.
So I was running out of time. I order it again. Again, very expensive gift. Order it again. Paid for expedited shipping, which was quite a bit. Got it in time. 2 weeks later, found where it had been delivered, left in a spot that I don't know even how they got it to where the box was.
Yeah.
really bad.
Whether you were able to return the other purchased item?
No, I kept it. I'm still using it myself.
Oh. How much did that cost you? How many thousands?
Wasn't in the thousand. It was $500.
Oh, okay.
It was $500.
Enough to where it's painful. I didn't want to spend that $500.
Very painful. Yeah.
So you gave the gift away,
Yeah.
and then you're using the same gift for yourself.
The one I bought originally for myself. Yes. Fortunately, it was the kind of gift I could use myself. It's very nice.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so there you go. That's my day. That's
The
my
other
24 hours.
thing, no, because I don't, some areas I don't really concern myself with shaving. Sorry. But
I mean, it's you do you, man. I'm just telling you, if you ever decide to do that area, just be careful.
yeah, but I thought, I mean, they sell those razors, particularly with the caveat, don't worry about it. It's safe and you won't have to worry about it. Because it's not like shaving with a straight razor or something.
No. But it didn't hurt. It's not like there was any pain involved.
Yeah.
I will say this. If you ever nick that area, don't put new skin on there. It burns so bad. I was about to just lose. I almost had I felt like I had my head got hot, like that pain. That there's just some things you shouldn't. I didn't know. I don't know what I was doing, but that hurt for about 2 minutes straight. I was like, I just set myself on fire in the wrong area. Unbelievable to me. But these are the type of things I get myself into. I don't even know how I wind up in some of the situations I wind up in. I didn't expect to be dealing with that today, and yet I was dealing with that. But the new skin was just an all-timer. I'm like, hey, that new skin, it like dries up, and that should stop it. No, all it did was cause massive burning and me wanting to like jump into a big cold pool of water or something. That was brutal.
I hesitate to mention this, but, there are pads that you can get.
Yeah, I'm not going to put a pad. I'm not wearing
Fit
a pad.
in there.
No, I'm not putting a pad in there. It's never happening. I'm not doing an adult diaper. I'm not doing a pad. I'm not jamming toilet paper down there. Forget it. No. I'm much more comfortable in my current state than I would be with a pad. Give me a break already. Come on now.
Just saying.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah. That'd be an all-time. Hey, Kaylee, I need to borrow something.
Yeah.
No, that's not going to happen. No. There you go. But, hey, I'm okay. Blood stopped. Found watch. Now we can get on with the show.
Yeah. Well, this is one you don't ever have to worry about me asking to see the scar.
I wouldn't show you.
No.
No one wants to see that.
No, they don't.
No one wants to see that.
No. Isn't it funny, though, how some guys will get, a wound on their arm or they have a surgery somewhere. Hey, want to see the scar? No, thanks. I don't think I'd care to see that scar from your open heart surgery.
There are certain parts of a man body that nobody wants to see. I don't want to see it. I don't even like looking at my own bag. I don't want to see that. It's disgusting. I'm not an old. How can you be young and have something so wrinkly? I don't understand. It's a big mystery to me, but it's hideous. So there you go. We'll keep things rolling. When we come back, the preseason All-American list is out. Any Ducks make the list? We'll tell you next here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather. There's a report. Brandon Ayuk is at 49ers practice observing.
That has to tell you something, doesn't it?
Well, I think it's got to tell you a pretty good sign. One, I think it's very good business by Ayuk and his agent to have him there. That would tell me that talks are proceeding in the right direction, that
Right.
his attitude and mind is in the right place, where the way I see it is he's there supporting his teammates, not participating because he's trying to get this new deal done, but he's there to say, hey, look, I'm part of the team. These are my guys, and I want to be there to show support. I think that's a very good sign, and I would
Yeah.
think that that's probably smart business by him and the agent to show the team that, hey, I want to be here and I want to get something done. So I think that's a good sign, more so than just not showing up, not being there, and withdrawing completely from the situation. I could be overreacting to that, but that's kind of my feel on it.
Yeah, and my thought too, Chad, was if they're leaning toward making that deal with the Steelers as rumored, he wouldn't be out there. He
Yeah.
wouldn't be at the Niners practice.
Yeah, so maybe they're just getting through the final details.
Yeah.
They know they're going to get something done. It's just a matter of working through it. But to have him there and be a part of that, because he's beloved by his teammates and someone you want around, and he's one of the key components of that offense and that football team. So I think having him there is probably a good sign.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to say, I want him back with them because I just want they're fun to watch team for me, and I want to see what they're like with him.
Yeah. I'll say it again for those who don't understand. In that offense, again, keep in mind, Kyle Shanahan's running the same offense that his dad run, Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan worked under Bill Walsh and was part of the Walsh tree, was the offensive coordinator for the 49ers when they won the Super Bowl in 94, before he took over the head coaching job in Denver in the 95 season. So, like any coach, they take the system and then they add their own wrinkles to it. So Shanahan took the Bill Walsh West Coast offense and then added his kind of power running game to it, the zone running scheme, and became wildly successful with it. Won back-to-back championships, and no matter which back he put back there, whether it was Clinton Portis, Terrell Davis, Alandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Tatum Bell, it didn't matter. They all ran for 1,000 yards because of the system and the way they taught their backs with offensive line coach Alex Gibbs, who's one of the best in history. One cut and then get your ass upfield. I mean, that's how they coach
It was kind of a zone blocking thing too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't
zone
it?
scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah, the zone scheme. One cut, get upfield, and the offensive linemen in that system working, 5 guys working as one, where their footwork, everything was in unison. It was a beautiful thing. So, but in that scheme, Mike Shannon always talked about the need for having the right wide receivers, meaning wide receivers that not only could catch and make plays downfield, but guys who were willing blockers, guys who would engage and block, because in the zone scheme, you need your wide receivers actively involved in the blocking part of it to spring those big chunk plays. Shanahan had Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey, two very large wide receivers who were willing blockers and did a great job in the offense for that. And that's what Ayuk brings to the 49er offense. He was their leading receiver and their best playmaker last year, but he's also a devastating blocker. And if you talk to anyone in the game, they notice that. It jumps out on tape. His willingness to block when he's not a part of the play in terms of catching it, or his number's not called, but in the run game, willing to get down and block, because he's one of the key reasons that guys like Christian McCaffrey are able to spring off and get those big run plays.
And by the way, not a common trait of a wide receiver.
Exactly. We've talked about it before. Wide receivers are on an island.
Yeah.
They require the quarterback to get them the football. By nature, it's more of a selfish position, and they know they need to catch balls to be able to get the numbers up to get the contract they want.
Yeah.
So it's a weird position.
They're very high maintenance players as a rule.
Yes, and good wide receivers often on plays will be open, but because the pass protection breaks down or the quarterback doesn't have good vision and doesn't see him, they got to go back and let the quarterback know, hey, I'm open, man. Get me the freaking ball. That's how they're programmed. That's how they operate. But Brandon Ayuk is different from the standpoint that he's willing to buy in and be a vital part of the offense, even when he's not catching the ball on a pass play.
Yeah.
He blocks. He's great at it. And then on top of that, he's young, explosive, great speed. He can get downfield and turned out to be a great target for Brock Purdy. If you're trying to win a championship, which the 49ers are, and I would consider their season, just like we saw last year, anything short of winning the Super Bowl is a major disappointment. You have to go all in right now because you're getting ready to pay Brock Purdy a ridiculous number of dollars after this season. So now is the time. You have to capitalize now, which means if you have to overpay a guy a little bit more than what you want, you can figure out the salary cap mess later. But take advantage of this year right now before you have to pay Purdy. That means do whatever it takes to get the deal done for Ayuk. He's too important to the offense and that team to not bring him back when you have Super Bowl expectations. Why would you haggle over a couple of dollars, upset a guy, and he gets traded to Pittsburgh or somewhere else, and then you don't have that same quality of player on the field when he wants to be there? He just wants to be paid a comparable rate to the other top wide receivers in the league.
Yeah.
That's just how the game works. You got to take care of him. They need him to get over the hump and win a championship. If you're going to score enough to go up against guys like Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage, you need guys like Brandon Ayuk. It's critical.
Yeah, and I think this is their time. There's no way with what Purdy is going to make in the future that they're going to be as good
I agree.
next year as they are right now.
They won't, because they're going to have to. When you pay the quarterback, what happens is you have to sacrifice other areas of your team. That means you can't pay multiple defensive linemen top dollar to have one of the best defenses. You may have to cut back on your price at linebacker. Then you look around, it's like, well, we can't really afford to have a high-priced running back now in Christian McCaffrey. These are the things that happen. That's just the way the game is played right now with the way the quarterbacks are making money.
Yeah.
Look at the Chiefs. They had to say goodbye to Tyreek Hill. We're going to pay the quarterback and we're going to pay the defensive lineman. Well, we can't keep Tyreek Hill. And it's unfortunate. And what did we see? Growing pains last year because they went young, and had to work through a season with young wide receivers that didn't really know the offense and how to make plays. They got better as the season went along.
Yeah, fortunate that they did, really.
Yeah.
Real fortunate.
It almost cost them a Super Bowl back-to-back, and now they got a chance to win 3 straight. So I think it's a good sign that Ayuk is there. I'm a big fan of Ayuk. Loved him at Arizona State. I think he's a big-time player, and he's been great for the 49ers. Just do it now and worry about it later. A lot of teams in the NFL do that. Let's worry about now, and then we'll deal with the future when it comes time to deal with the future.
Yeah.
Isn't that the way to do it?
Yeah.
How do you read the situation? How do you read it with him being on the sideline of practice?
For me, Chad, it shows that they're leaning toward a deal with the 49ers, not the Steelers as rumored. I think if they were headed toward a trade with another team, he would not be out there on the practice field. It shows that he's thinking that's the team he's going to be with.
All right. The preseason All-American team is out. And we just heard from Kirby Smart yesterday complaining about the lack of depth on his football team because of the changing dynamics in college football, right? Whether it's players in high school, less youth getting involved in football at a younger age. It could be the portal. It could be NIL. It could be all these different things impacting the bigger schools like Georgia to be able to have 3 or 4 deep at every position. Such problems that Kirby Smart has.
He's got it. It's a terrible situation for him, Chad.
All right. Well, ESPN's 2024 college football preseason All-American team is out. And here's what we got. 3 Georgia players are on the preseason All-American team.
Including the quarterback.
Yes. 2 offensive players, 1 defensive player. Carson Beck is your quarterback. Ollie Gordon, the running back from Oklahoma State, who had a monster year last year. My dad is down with that guy. He's your running back, along with Amarian Hampton out of North Carolina. Wide receivers, Luther Burden III from Missouri, McMillan from Arizona, who's coming off a massive year with the Cats, and he's going to be paired up again with Noah Fafita, the quarterback who had a monster year last year. Your tight end is Colston Loveland from Michigan, offensive tackle Will Campbell from LSU, Tate Ratledge from Georgia, offensive guard Parker Brailsford from Alabama is your center, your offensive guard Tyler Booker from Bama, and offensive tackle, who's a good one, Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. All-purpose, Travis Hunter out of Colorado, who's one of the best players in the country.
Sure. Yeah.
On defense, James Pierce from Tennessee on the line, along with Mason Graham from Michigan, Deion Walker from Kentucky, defensive end Nick Scourton from Texas A&M, linebacker Barrett Carter from Clemson, Danny Stutzman, linebacker from Oklahoma, Harold Perkins, LSU linebacker. In the secondary, cornerback Will Johnson from Michigan. He's elite. Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. Also at corner, your safeties are Malachi Starks from Georgia and Caleb Downs from Ohio State. And your special teamers, Graham Nicholson from Bama, your kicker. Alex Mastramano from Florida State. And your returner is Zachariah Branch from USC. So 3 players from Georgia are on the first team. So I don't want to hear Kirby Smart complain about lack of talent. I think he's
No
doing just
kidding.
fine, and they're the number one team in the country, and they put more players in the NFL than anyone of late. No Oregon Ducks on the preseason team, but Dylan Gabriel is second team at
Second team.
quarterback?
Yeah.
I don't know if it really matters. In football, like you want to have as many All-Americans as possible.
Hmm.
But to me, the most important thing is, one, you got to have quality football players. The Ducks have that. You got to have a good quarterback. The Ducks have that. And three, you got to have some experience at different positions and continuity. And the Ducks have that. I think continuity is one of the most overlooked things in football, but it's critical every year. They have continuity on the coaching staff, and they have continuity on the offense with a number of experienced players coming back. Same goes with their defense. And I think that puts Oregon in a position to compete with Ohio State and the rest of the teams in the Big Ten. That's kind of how I see it,
Yeah.
that continuity. And by the end of the year, you could be looking at Dylan Gabriel as the best quarterback in college football. Although Carson Beck is more of a pro prospect than
Yes.
Dylan Gabriel.
Yes.
And Carson Beck probably will be the second quarterback taken behind Deion Sanders' son at Colorado in next year's draft. Beck could go number one as well.
Yeah, you could.
So we'll see how that works out. Although I would expect Shadur to be the guy by the end of the season because I expect Shadur to have a big year. Is it a big deal that no Ducks are on the first-team All-American list?
I was going to ask you about that, Chad. To me, it would give me pause to a degree just thinking about that. You'd like to think that you have somebody who could fill one of those spots on an All-American team, but they have some transfers in key spots. They're going to play some young guys in key spots who haven't racked up stats like some of these guys have. So I think they're a little under the radar when it comes to individual players.
And I think there's some SEC bias in these type
Of
of
course.
polls as well,
Yeah,
right?
because there's sure a lot of SEC guys on that team,
Yeah.
especially because ESPN's naming the team, and guess who's carrying SEC games?
ESPN.
Yeah.
So it would behoove them to make sure that the SEC is featured at will.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask you about this because you know this gentleman very well. In fact, we reached out to him to come on the show a few weeks back, but he was busy in preparation for the doc that's going to drop this weekend.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on Jim Joyce, the umpire who missed the call in the perfect game at first base.
Yeah.
What do you expect to find out in this documentary that's going to be put out?
Well, there's a review of it out there now, and New York Times ran it. The documentary is being featured on what's the name of the ESPN 360 continuing documentary series, and it talks about Galarraga, the pitcher. It's called 28 Outs, the imperfect game, and what I'm hearing on the documentary is there's not enough of Galarraga and Joyce in the doc. They're focusing more on a group. I think it was Yale, where a bunch of students got together and wrote up an opinion legally how baseball should change. They should change. They should change that whole situation and make it a perfect game. Go in there and wipe out the mistake that Jim Joyce made, calling the guy safe at first, call the guy out, and just say it was a perfect game because he admits he missed the call. Everybody knows he missed the call. Now we have video review, which would have made it a perfect game. So why not now just call it that? And I think they may be correct, but I don't think they understand how hard it is for baseball to change anything. You know, how long did it take them to get a DH in both leagues? I mean, it was.
But even if they go back and change it and make it a perfect game, it doesn't make it a perfect game because, unfortunately, and Joyce, bless his heart, he was in tears.
Oh, yeah.
He knew that he cost Galarraga a perfect game, and he felt horrible about it.
Yeah. And he still does. I mean, that's why they say the documentary should have had more with him because Galarraga has gotten over it. He's very forgiving toward Joyce. Everybody makes mistakes, and Jim, of course, feels terrible still about the whole thing. And he told me he's just about relived it enough times now that he doesn't want to go there anymore.
But here's the part that sucks about this. Like, you know, you and I like to crack on these umps now that can't call a ball on a strike. They have no idea what's going on. They're blind. They're stupid. And now they're going to bring in the technology to help these idiots out. But Joyce was one of the good ones, right? one of the very best, and now he's only going to be remembered for one thing: the guy that blew Armando Galarraga's perfect game.
Yes, they talked about there was actually 1 year a survey. They talked to 100 major league players. Who's the best umpire in baseball? Jim Joyce won that poll. He was the best umpire in baseball. But every guy makes a mistake, and it's just unfortunate. But Jim is retired now. He's not umpiring. But people may not know who it is, but there's a feature, a commercial being featured a lot now. I think during the Olympics, they showed it several times. I can't remember what insurance company, but it's Ken Griffey Jr. and his wife, and they're leaving their house, and he's got some kind of crazy shirt on, and the umpire comes from next door and strike one. And eventually the umpire throws him out of the game, so to speak. Well, the umpire is Jim Joyce. And it so happens the first player he ever tossed out of a game was Ken Griffey Jr. And I guess that's maybe why Ken Griffey Jr. said, hey, go get Jim Joyce for this part. He'd be perfect. But he's featured in that commercial. I can't wait to talk to him about it. We're going to get him on probably next week and also ask him about the ABS system, how he feels about the machine calling balls and strikes. He's really a good guy.
He is. And just think, if they had replay, it would have been just fine because they would have gone back, reviewed it. The call would have been corrected. It would have been a perfect game, and Joyce wouldn't be remembered as the guy that blew the perfect game.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Umps probably like replay, right, to protect them? Or do they not? They like it?
No, he liked it for a lot of different reasons. That it just backed him up. It took him off the hook in many cases. And I think people who expect them to be perfect are just, living in another world. It's not the case.
I would have just thought that in that situation where you have a perfect game on the line, in a close call, he's out, right? You call it out.
You would think, yeah. But umpires are almost taught not to do that, And they always said, I have many friends who've been to umpire school and a lot of professional umpires, and they tell you that in school, like 3-2 count, bottom of the last inning, the pitch is on the corner. Don't be afraid to be that guy who says strike three instead of the guy who just, ball four, and the guy goes to first and the home team's still alive. Don't be afraid to call that pitch a strike.
What do you think Galarraga would prefer? To have a call at first base where it's called out, you get the perfect game, but then the replay shows that he wasn't out? Or do you think he would prefer having the wrong call? Everyone knows it was the wrong call. It's not a perfect game on the record books, but everyone knows you had the perfect game.
That's a great question.
Because I would feel fraudulent, for me personally,
taking it.
If I had a perfect game that I knew wasn't a perfect game, then I would consider it in my mind not a perfect game, and that would bother me.
Yeah.
Because the tape would reveal that, yeah, you got ruled a perfect game, but it wasn't perfect. The guy was safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Galarraga probably feels better about the situation the way it is now. It may not be in the record books as a perfect game, but it was a perfect game.
I was going to mention one more baseball thing. The Hawk Tua girl threw out the first pitch at the Mets game today. And Wes Clemens, a lot of people know him around here. He does he's the color analyst for Pac-12 baseball on the ill-fated Pac-12 network. He says, he's commenting on it. He said, go ahead, parents, and explain to your children what this person accomplished to get the honor of throwing out the first pitch at a Mets game.
But I'm not familiar with the Hawk Tua girl. What is this? What does Hawk Tua mean?
You know better. And Mike Shacker helped a little with the sound effects.
Oh, God. It's becoming a punchline in jokes.
I know, it is.
I wonder if she could have helped with my problem this morning. I should have put some.
Her 15 minutes of fame has lasted much longer than 15 minutes.
That's what I needed this morning. It was a little Hawk Tua.
Can she be a Blazer halftime show?
Nobody knows whether she threw a spitball or not on the first pitch.
All right, Rip City Drive. Well, I hear this theme song and I naturally feel like more of a man. The Magnum PI theme song. Our
Yeah.
good friend Scotty Bethune has chimed in. Hey, Dwight, what's Chad up to during the commercial breaks? Hitting the Nespresso machine or checking to see if he stopped the hemorrhaging yet? And then Rip City Mike wants to know what the heck New Skin is. Have you ever used New Skin?
I've never used it. I know what it is. No, I've never tried it.
Yeah, so what it is, it comes in this little container, and it's got, you open it up, and it's got one of the little brushes that's connected to the lid. It's like a fingernail polish like deal.
Mhm.
And what you do is if you have like a wound, you spread it out on the wound, and then that stuff dries real quick. So it creates like a layer of skin over the top of the wound. And I thought that would be a good idea to stop the bleeding situation I had on the pouch. But what I found out is that the compound is, it's not good for that sensitive area because it burned like a
Yeah.
more than you can imagine. It's like, ah! Puppy Shots was looking at me like I was some type of crazy, man. That's all I can say about that. That's all I can say about that. Then we have another person, Kale, who chimed in. They loved your spitball comment, referring to Hawk Tua.
Yeah.
And then Scotty wants to know which model Garmin am I rocking? S70. It's the latest version, and it's pretty amazing. It's got a virtual caddy. So when you walk up to your shot, based on where you're at the course, based on the history you have with each club and the distance and the wind,
It tells you what club to use?
it recommends what club you should utilize.
Holy cow.
The
I didn't
technology is
know
unreal.
that.
It does. It's got a little button. It's like a little person. You just tap it, and it gives you its recommendation for what you should do on that hole. And what I love about the new S70 is that it's paired up with the phone, so it knows the weather conditions and the wind conditions. So when you walk up to a shot, it will tell you it's 115 playing like 120 or
Wow.
115 playing like 112 based on the elevation or whatever. I mean, it's pretty high tech. And then I've got the sensors attached to all my clubs, so I have a walking average. When I pull a club out of the bag, the number for that club, it'll pop out. It'll say 9-iron, 138 yards, or whatever my average is for the club, and you know what it is. So
Jeez.
it's pretty amazing the type of data that it will keep.
Where do you put the sensor on a club? What do
You
you
screw it in on the end of the on the butt of the club,
Oh.
right on the end. So when you're holding the club, it doesn't bother you at all. It's just like it's about about an inch higher. So it's just an end cap. You just screw it in on the little hole on the end of your club,
Huh.
and it fits right there in the grip, and you don't even notice it's there. But the club, when you pull a club out of the bag, your watch knows instantly what club you have in your hand. Isn't that
Golly.
amazing?
You're cheating.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you, you're cheating.
I just I hate not having the watch on today playing. It sucked. I just love having the data and being able to look on my watch because I've never used a rangefinder until today. So my buddy Glenn, he's like, "Oh, you can just use my rangefinder," because I gave him my old Garmin watch, and he loves it, man. So when I got the S70, I gave him my S42, and he thinks it's the greatest thing ever. So I'm carrying his rangefinder, but I don't know if I have like onset of Parkinson's or whatever, but I couldn't. I can't hold it still enough.
Chad, I had one, and I gave it to Nancy because I couldn't hold it still enough either. They rattle around like crazy. You can't keep it on the flag.
No, I was so bitter. So I'm sitting there trying to shoot the pin, and I know I'm like 105 yards away, and it's like 248. And finally, I'm just like, screw it, forget it. And I don't like to bother other people who I know have a watch on. Hey, come over and give me the distance.
Yeah.
So I was playing the guessing game. Fortunately, when you play a course enough, you kind of know, okay, this is probably 120, this is 125. But there were a couple of holes I overshot my target because I was using the wrong club.
Yeah, see, I have one of those little square things that I attach to the golf cart, and it's a GPS, and it just tells me how far I am from the flag every time. But I don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
I just look at it, and that's
It's in
it.
your cart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are genius, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it, but I'll tell you that watch does intrigue me because I wouldn't have to do anything. I just look down at the watch.
I absolutely love it. I'm a watch guy anyways.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is about the Garmin, they're so light, the casing and everything, you don't even realize you have it on. But I'm using it constantly.
But it keeps all your statistics too, right?
That's the best part is that after a round, you hit save round, and it pairs up with the app on your phone. So you can flip through, and it shows you the distance of each shot, what club it was,
Oh, my
It keeps track of
goodness.
your putts. So all the data is right there in the app.
Do you buy? Do the sensors come with the watch? You got to buy all those
The,
separately,
the
right?
sensors are separate. They're not expensive.
Oh.
Alex, I didn't have them because I didn't know they existed until a couple of years ago. And then my buddy Alex, I'm like, what are those? He goes, oh, these are the Garmin sensors. I'm like, well, that looks pretty interesting. And he surprised me. A couple of days later, I got this package delivered from Amazon. I'm like, I didn't order anything. And he bought me some of the sensors. And they're real easy to pair up. You just you put all the sensors on your club, you pull a club out of the bag, and then it will say, what club is this? And you just assign
Tell
the
'em.
number, and then boom, you're
Right.
set.
It always knows.
Yeah. And then so now when I walk up to a hole, like you pull your driver out of your bag, it'll say like 245.6 or whatever your average is. It keeps a running average so you know what distance you're hitting your clubs. That's the coolest part. Distance.
Do they have women's Garmin watches?
They
too?
do. Yeah. You should get Nancy one.
I was just going to say that's a great birthday gift, I bet.
What you should do, I got an idea for you. What you should do is you should buy one, have the person misplace it, then you buy another one, and then both of you can have Garmin
Yeah,
watches.
right,
There you go.
Yeah.
It's
perfect.
problem solved.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, the latest version I got, it too was a gift. I didn't buy it.
Oh,
It's not a cheap gift, right?
I bet. Yeah. What are those? 500? 400?
I want to say like 449.
Yeah. The technology is what you pay for, and there's a lot of technology in there. That's pretty amazing stuff.
Yes. If I didn't play golf all the time, like if I wasn't obsessed, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But I love having all my rounds on my app, and I've got them there for the last 5 years. I can look back and look at any course I played, any round I played, and know the distance on each shot. It's pretty wild, the technology. It's mind-blowing.
And it notes the course you're on, too?
Yeah, because it maps, the app's got the map of the course. So you can, the cool thing is when you're looking at it on your phone, it conjures up the memory of the hole. You can be like, oh, I remember that hole. And then with the app, I can, if I play a certain course a number of times, like if I go out and play Willamette Valley Country Club, it's tracked every time I've been on the course. It tracks. Obviously, I've got a history of all my shots on every hole at your country club.
Yeah.
So I can pull up any hole on the course, and it will give me my shot dispersion, right? So when you're teeing off, I know where my tendency is. It'll say you miss right 53% of the time. or you
No
miss
kidding.
because a lot of times I'll think that, oh, I'm going to miss it left here. But if I look at the data, it's like, no, when you miss and you don't hit a good drive, you miss right 75% of the time.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? So you can look at your shot dispersion. You're like, oh, okay. And so, I mean, that's
And
how
you
it
don't
goes.
need to use a scorecard either, right? It's
I
all
don't
on
use
your
the
watch.
scorecard. Today I had the old pencil and the
Well, that's what
handwritten
I use
nonsense.
every
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
It was a pain in the ass.
Mhm.
But no, everything. So when you're done with the hole, so you play the hole, and then when you're walking off the green towards the next hole, it will pop up and say, it'll say the score that it thinks you have. And so, like, you got a par, and then you go through and how many putts did it take? And then it also keeps track of penalties. So anything that's there,
Gosh.
all of it right there in one spot. Technology is a beautiful thing.
Gee whiz.
Can't believe I left that at home. It's been a bad 24 hours for my watches. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. And for your package, too.
I could have used some hot Tua, Godfather. All right, we were talking about golf technology. Scotty Bethune was asking me if I have the sensors, and Scotty, I do use them, and we were just talking about them. You have to get them. You love golf, buddy. I encourage it. You're not going to be disappointed. I was just trying to encourage the Godfather to take care of Nancy on her birthday with the Garmin watch. She'd be
Yeah.
totally down with that.
Yeah.
Sean and Sandy chimes in. He says, using technology in golf sounds like cheating and cheating the game. Just go play and use your own personal skill with woods. Glad Major League Baseball still uses wood.
Wood.
Yeah, wood bats, I think.
I know, but golf isn't using really wood anymore.
No,
It's-
using metal
Yeah.
woods. Well, the technology is not cheating the game. It's actually helping the game because before, I mean, you can't just play blind golf. You have to know the distance that you are from your target. It's impossible to play if you don't know the distances.
Well, I remember the days you did have to estimate it. I mean, unless you had a caddy who was going to keep a book for you or
Well,
something.
even the pros, they may not have a Garmin watch on, but they've got their caddy giving them the exact distance with their yardage books right there at their side. They're doing the same thing. They're just not looking at a watch on their wrist because before golf courses used to be well marked throughout different parts of the fairway
They
where you
were.
could walk up to a sprinkler head and it would give different yardages on that sprinkle head based on the position you were on the hole. Well, as time has gone on and more technology's entered the game where people have their apps or they've got the yardages on the carts like you have, well, there's no need for the sprinkler heads to have the yardages on there anymore.
Yeah.
So if you don't have an app or a Garmin watch or a cart with the yardage on it, you're not going to know because they don't keep those sprinkler heads up to date and you can't read it anymore. So you don't know, aside from that's the 150 stick. That's it. That's the only marking they have on the course. So the technology is actually very helpful because you can't just pick up a club and say, I'm just going to hit this shot right now. You have to know your distances because each club is designed to go a certain yardage mark, Sean.
I think too, Chad, I think this year the PGA allowed players to use rangefinders. I think their caddies use them more than the players actually do, but I think they're allowed now.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. Why
Yeah.
do they have to open up the stupid yardage book when they could just pull out a rangefinder
Yeah.
and be able to know the exact distance?
Mhm.
And the bottom line is with golf, I don't care if you know what the exact distance is or not. But using a watch to know the distance and then stepping over the ball and executing the right shot to make sure that you get the ball within range to make your putt, it's going to be hard regardless of what type of technology you have.
Yeah.
You still got to execute the swing.
Well,
and that's hard.
at my level too, Chad, it's, that's a 7-iron today. Tomorrow might be a hybrid 5 or something. I mean, it's you just don't know. I so many times I've said that's a 7-iron for me if I hit it good, but I don't know if I'm hitting that club good today or not.
Yeah.
And
And the other reason why the yardage matters, like it was on hole 10, 11, 12. I'm on hole 12, par 4. I hit my drive. I don't know how long I hit it. My guess it was about 260 based on my position. And I get up to the ball and I don't know my exact yardage and I can't keep my hand from shaking, so I can't get the rangefinder
Yeah.
to work. So I guesstimated about 125 yards. So I choked up on my pitching wedge a little bit and I hit that. But I hit the back part of the green and it rolled off into the short rough. So I hit it too long. I should have been using my 50 degree. But again, because I didn't know the yardage, I guessed. And guessing in golf is not a good scenario. That's not good for anybody. It didn't work out for me. But that's why you got to know the number, at least within range, right? That's what it's all about, Sean. That's the importance of the technology. All right. Speaking of wood, Aaron Judge, fastest player to 300 home runs.
Right.
I have a man crush on him. I think he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching him play and swing the bat because, as you pointed out, he gets contact like nobody else in the game gets contact right now. But really, for him, is this something he can keep up to where he can challenge Bonds?
I think he can. The only thing that would give me pause is that he has suffered some injuries. And a guy that big, carrying that much weight, who's playing in the outfield, is going to get hurt. It's just inevitable, I think. He'll run into a wall. He'll hurt himself diving for a catch. He ran into that. That was last year, wasn't it, where he hurt his foot.
I was at the series. It was in Dodger Stadium.
In Dodger Stadium, he hurt his foot. And so that kind of stuff happens. If he were a first baseman, I would say much better chance of staying healthy. Those guys can stay healthy longer. But yeah, he's got if all works out for him and he does stay healthy, he's got a heck of a chance.
Do you think he'll transition into being a DH at some point?
I would think that's a real possibility, or a first baseman because he is big, and tall guys work better at first base. Yeah, obviously.
He can reach out and make that throw a little bit easier.
Yeah, he's got really good hands, and he'd be fine there. I think
he's 32 as well. 32 years old.
Is he that old?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's against him too. Because you're going to have to stick around a while to hit.
So he's definitely going to climb the list. It's just a matter of how productive he can be over the next. Well, especially as he gets past 35.
And I mentioned this to Mike Shacker, and because he saw it with Barry Bonds, they will start walking you even more than they are now. I mean, if you get that dangerous and you continue to hit it,
why risk even throwing to him?
Exactly. I mean, they walked Bonds with the bases loaded.
One of the greatest things ever.
Yeah, Buck Showalter did it when he was with Arizona.
Yeah, I'm not going to pitch that guy.
It worked out. Yeah, if you got a 3-run lead. And you got the bases loaded. Hey, a 2-run lead's fine. Put him on because he might hit a grand slam and beat you.
Yeah, with Bonds, I would have bet he's probably going to get a grand slam.
Yeah.
He's too good.
Yeah.
All right. Aaron Judge is cool too because he's just no nonsense with that guy. He just shows up and does his job, and he's spectacular. I like the way he carries himself.
Yeah.
He's a very likable character.
Easy guy to become another Yankee captain. He is the captain of that team. He's got a lot of Jeter in him, guys who are calm, who can talk to the media on behalf of their team, who can speak for others, and who can run that clubhouse.
And they all respect the heck out of him, too.
It helps if you're a big guy, too.
He's a very big man.
They have a little
if you're
more
Paul
luck.
Bunyan, that doesn't hurt, does it?
Other players tend to listen to them a little more closely.
What do you like most about his game?
Well, I'll tell you what I like this year, Chad. He's a 300 hitter as well as being a home run guy. And in today's game, that's rare. These home run guys, there's a lot of guys hitting home runs now. A lot of them are hitting 240, 235.
And he's doing it without a lot of other big names in that lineup.
Yeah, he is.
Because they've had guys in and out.
Soto has been good for him this year.
Yeah.
The other thing he's got going for him is Yankee Stadium is a bit of a bandbox. It is not a big ballpark, and especially in right field. And he hits the ball to all fields. That's pretty much a home run factory.
He hit one of the home runs he hit in that series I went to this year with New York and L.A. He just turned on it, and as soon as the ball connected with the bat, it's like, see ya.
Yeah.
It was it just line shot. It was just wham.
When guys like that hit him, yeah.
There's something about it that's very manly. You see that, you hear that. It's like watching Bryson swing the golf club.
Yeah.
In fact, I think one of the comments that John Daly had after Bryson, they were on the range before their round, and Bryson hit one of the shots. He goes, "You hear that, kids? You hear that? That sound right there? It's like your first girlfriend. It's perfect." Yeah, I love that sound. The perfect sound of the ball cracking the bat, or when someone has that crispy, center contact on the club face, man. It's a beautiful sound.
Yeah, and in baseball and in golf, when the really good guys hit the ball, the sound is different for them.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, when Judge hits one really on the screws, that's a different sound than anybody else is getting.
Yeah. Ohtani's having a big year, too, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He sure is.
He leads the National League in home runs, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a bad signing for $1 billion. I can't wait till the postseason hits. It's going to be cool to see if the Dodgers, how they do. What about the Phillies? How the National League shakes out.
Well, my brother already told you how it was going to shake out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He mentioned that. He'll probably do that on the show tomorrow.
I know, but he
too.
also said that Derek Jeter was going to be the next manager of the Yankees, too.
Yeah, well, we'll ask him tomorrow about it.
Yeah, but do you think that's going to happen? Do you think Jeter wants to be a manager? Really?
That's a great question. Some guys do. I don't know. Some guys do.
Do baseball managers put in the type of work that football coaches do, or is it a little more
They put
laid
in
back?
a lot of time. People don't realize they come to a 7:00 game. They don't realize that most of these people have been at the ballpark since noon. You get there really early, and players have so much video work now to do and scouting reports and all that stuff.
So the
Ju-
manager's doing work too.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's the CEO. He's got to make sure everybody's doing the right stuff. Do you know they got pitching machines now that deliver images of that night's starting pitcher, and the ball comes out of their hand on the image
What?
from this machine? They can approximate all these pitchers, and they got the spin rate and everything. It's like you're taking batting practice off that pitcher. Now, they don't use that machine out on the field.
Yeah.
They use it underneath the stands where everybody has their private batting cages down there.
Well, Sean was worried about me using a Garmin watch on the golf course, saying it sounded a lot like cheating. That sounds a lot like
It
cheating
does
to me
sound
too.
like cheating, yeah.
That's technology at its finest, right there, Godfather.
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy.
I know. They got stuff now that's, and they're doing all this with golf, with launch angles and rotation and spin rate. Golf and baseball now are using that stuff like crazy.
Yeah, that's Bryson. He's a technology guy. He's into the technology, coming up with different ways, thinking outside of the box. And I respect that because the old school train of thought, there are a lot of people that get stuck in the old school train of thought when it comes to many different things, and they're unwilling to bend or adjust or be open to new ideas that might be better, and you can suffer from that.
Yeah, you can.
That's why I've always, and I hate to say this because he irritates me, but that's why I've always respected Greg Popovich as an NBA coach because he's always adapted to the players that he's had on his roster.
Mm-hmm.
The style of ball that he won championships with when he had David Robinson and Tim Duncan were different than the ones later on when he had better perimeter players like Manu and Patty Mills and stuff. They shot more threes.
Yeah.
And that's cool. You adapt and adjust based on what you have. Don't try to just force everyone to do the same thing because that's the way we do it. It's like, no, you got to be willing to adjust based on different variables. I like that kind of stuff in sport, right?
Yeah, they played slow down early in his coaching tenure, and it ended up Kawhi Leonard, they were running up and down the floor, shooting threes.
I went back and watched that game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals that they should have won the series, but Ray Allen hit the shot.
Mm-hmm.
The missed free throws down the stretch were
the
backbreaker.
Duncan missed a wide open layup almost, right, at the end?
Yeah, Duncan, Kawhi missed free throws. They had the game and they blew it.
Yeah.
Uncharacteristic mistakes for a Spurs team, with those type of experienced players on the floor.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. I hope you're enjoying your Thursday. The Power is going to be out in the building at 5, so you're going to get a chance to hear Anthony Simons in studio for an entire hour, which is going to be nice.
It's a great interview. A lot of fun.
All right, couple of football notes, Godfather. First off, Dak Prescott is saying that good things are happening in his contract discussions with the Dallas Cowboys.
Hmm.
And my guess is at this stage in Jared's life, he can't afford to let Dak go and try to break in and develop a new quarterback. Might as
Yeah.
well just get him under contract and move forward and try and get something done. Make it happen with him. What are your other options? You've talked about this. There are a lot of quarterbacks making more money than they probably should make,
Mhm.
but what's the other option out there? Because if Dak were not to re-sign in Dallas and became available tomorrow, there'd be a number of teams lining up to sign him.
Yeah, for sure. I just wonder what they're going to do with CeeDee Lamb. They got to sign him, don't they?
CeeDee Lamb is one of the most, you can make an argument he's the best receiver in football. He put up ridiculous numbers last year. He's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. You have to sign him. Dak needs him, yes. So Jared's got a lot of work to do. But when you have the most valuable franchise in the NFL worth over $10 billion, maybe you can find a few pennies in your couches to pay those two
Yeah,
guys.
I think he could sell a few more hot dogs, whatever he has to do that, cover it.
Also, props to the Falcons. They went out and added Justin Simmons, who had been in Denver his first 8 seasons. He's got 9 picks over the last 2 years. He's like an Aaron Judge type in terms of leadership. Great locker room guy. Tremendous off the field. And a great player, instinctive player. And the Falcons now, if you look at what they've been able to put together throughout the course of the offseason and with their offensive playmakers and adding Kirk Cousins, like they're one of those teams that could surprise. Every year there's a team that didn't make the playoffs that ends up getting in the next year. There's always a team that comes out of nowhere. The Falcons could be that team this year if Cousins stays healthy. But Simmons is a terrific player, and he's going to add to their defense, and he's just a great player. He's got experience. He's only 30 years old, 9 interceptions over the past 2 seasons, and he's a 4-time second-team All-Pro selection, and he got the deal done. But the Falcons in that division, Godfather, they can make some noise for sure. Because who you got? Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Bucks. They can definitely contend in that division if Kirk Cousins stays healthy.
Well, they got Matthew Judon today from the Patriots, too. They made that deal today.
Yeah, so just keep an eye on
Pretty
that.
good. Yeah. They're going to be pretty good defensively, I think.
And then Russell Wilson will make his preseason debut for the Steelers this weekend. So we'll get a chance to see Russ. Justin Fields is getting some work in, so we'll see how things play out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the future is going to hold for Russ. I just want him to be the starter when I go to Denver week 2 for the Steelers and Broncos. I need that excitement in my life.
He'll still be starting in the second game, I assume, unless he gets hurt.
I want him to play well. I like him, so I want to see him play well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm anxious to see how he'll perform going back to Denver because you know how athletes are. Like, isn't that a game that will mean something to him? A great
Should.
deal?
Absolutely.
To go back and shove it, stick it to Sean Payton
Yeah.
for the way things went down last year.
Oh, yeah.
I know Payton was frustrated. I didn't like the way he dealt with Russ on the sideline of that Detroit game. I thought that was over the top.
Embarrassing.
Even if you're frustrated with the guy, like it's like, hey, coach, he's still a Super Bowl winner and one of the best quarterbacks in the game and has put together a potential Hall of Fame career. You don't need to undress him like that on national
No,
TV.
that's one of those things you keep inside. That has to stay in the building.
Even for Sean Payton, that's over the top.
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
Yeah, it's a little out of character for him, isn't it? I don't recall him doing stuff like that.
Yeah, especially with a quarterback, a veteran quarterback.
Yeah, in front of the whole team and the whole country.
He won't blow up at Bo Nix like that, I bet. I wouldn't expect it
No.
because Bo Nix will be doing the things that he wants him to do. Even if he doesn't execute it properly, he'll be running the plays the way he wants him to. And a lot of coaches want that. Hey, this is my play. This is the way we design it. Just run it that way.
There's always a possibility that as Sean Payton has gotten older, he might get a little grumpier, a little edgier. Maybe.
I think a lot of coaches are like that.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick's a grumpy man, but on TV when he's with McAfee, he's not grumpy at all, and he's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes the coaches just show a certain side to the media because they hate dealing with the media.
I think Bill's got the old on-off switch. You know, he knows when to be that way and when not to be.
I mean, he's a master with people. He can read the room and be able to work the room perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those coaches have very good their social intuition, how to communicate, how to speak, how to deal with people. I mean, they're almost like politician level types where they know how to work it a little bit.
Yeah, if you read the tabloids too, it looks like Bill's pretty happy at home nowadays.
Most guys his age would be rolling with something like that. Being that old and rolling with a 20-something
Yeah.
that they bonded over cheerleading on an airplane.
Yeah.
Maybe she's got hawk Tua skills too. Think of the possibilities, Godfather. All right. What was the reaction in general from Trailblazer fans that you got in the news that the relationship with Root Sports is over?
Two things. First of all, really happy to bid goodbye to Root Sports.
Yeah.
There's some real animosity toward Root.
Well,
And I think a lot of it, not their fault. I think it was the Comcast thing of moving Root to a higher, more expensive tier. That really set people off. That was the last straw.
do you think Comcast did that as a payback for the Blazers leaving NBC Sports?
I do. I think that was always a threat that could happen if you left.
So they leave, and then Comcast decides to charge more for the Root Sports package to access Blazer games.
Yeah, and they waited until like 2 weeks before the season started to announce it.
It caught them off guard.
Mhm.
In fact, we talked with the Blazers shortly after that decision. They were stunned. They had no control over that.
No, it was not their decision.
Okay. And I think also Blazer fans, we're always, well, not just Blazer fans, people in the Portland area, we're very sensitive to being lumped in with Seattle, right? We don't like Seattle. We're
Right.
our own town. We're not the same cities. We like that separation there.
Mhm.
Seattle is Seattle, Portland is Portland. And I think what happens is for Blazer fans in the Portland area that we all share that complex when it comes to Seattle and the feeling, too, that, you know, with the Blazers, always that thought that they could go to Seattle. You know, Root Sports is based out of Seattle.
Yeah.
It's just that whole Seattle thing, too, where you naturally like, screw Root Sports.
Well, it's always been. It's not Root Sports Northwest. It's Seattle Sports Northwest. It's always been that way. That's why I was a little surprised they went that way because they already had, you're talking about the Seattle Kraken and the Mariners. That's most of their schedule right there. And then you want to put the Blazers in on top of it. No surprise at all. It ended up on one of their back channels that nobody could find.
Because they were giving preferential treatment to the Seattle team.
And they were always going to do that. Everybody had to know that.
All right, so people are happy that the relationship with Root is over. And then what's the second part of that?
Just happy to get the games for free. And I nobody seems to know now. And they say negotiations are still ongoing, but nobody knows which local station's going to have those games.
But it really doesn't matter, right? Because
No,
if it's a
probably
local
not.
station, anybody can access it
Yeah.
through their cable box, their satellite dish, or just simply buying a digital receiver. Or if you don't want to go digital receiver and you got some rabbit ears, you can maneuver the ears to bring in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people don't. Do you ever see an antenna on anybody's roof anymore?
No.
Remember those days?
No, you see the occasional satellite dish, but I remember the old antennas used to be up on the rooftops.
My poor dad climbing up there to adjust it. Oh, God. That was brutal.
Yeah, and then weather and all those other conditions can
Yeah.
impact the reception and so forth.
So much better, though, than the old rabbit ears. We had rabbit ears in the beginning, but it was like, I remember my dad saying, this is not going to work. We're going to have to get a real antenna on the roof, and we did.
We never had, I don't know if we had an antenna on the roof or not. I just can't
Really?
remember. I do remember the rabbit ears, but I can't remember. And then I think I told you we got cable, but after my mom caught my brother and I watching
Yeah.
HBO with Bo Derek, the cable went out of the house real quick. And
So
then,
you're back to the rabbit ears again?
yeah. And then when we lived up in Colorado, we had the rabbit ears again because we were up on a mountain. We didn't have access to anything except for, the basic local channels. That was it.
Yeah,
And-
see, I was on the houseboat. I couldn't get cable. I couldn't get anything. So I went and got satellite. I was one of the first satellite guys.
Well, that's genius, though.
Mhm.
The satellite was great. And then when I lived in the Bay Area, I wanted to get the satellite so I could have NFL ticket. But the apartment complex I lived in, they wouldn't allow drilling or what was necessary to have the satellite dish. So because of that, I qualified for the DirecTV NFL ticket package streaming. and I was able to get the streaming package.
Mm.
And that was nice because I could pull up all the games on my computer and just mirror it from my phone to my TV and have access that way for all the NFL games. So I had, the Xfinity package, but then I had the streaming NFL package because I needed to get access to all the games.
Yeah.
But for Blazer fans, I do think this is a big win. Just knowing where you have the games. I guess the big question is, what's been the theory over the years when it comes to fans who have access to all the games on their TV? Does that impact people who are going to go to the game? Or is it a different crowd? I mean, how do people see that?
Well, in the beginning, Chad, nobody televised home games. I mean, you saw that on the super stages with the Cubs and the Braves, and that was it. But I remember when the Blazers came and Harry Glickman was adamant, he would show some road games, 20 of them, I think, but you were not going to get home games on TV because they were worried people would just stay home and watch them for free. They're not going to come down and buy a ticket. And that theory held true for a long time. But then teams gradually started putting home games on and found that it increased interest in the teams enough that it made people want to go to the games. They wanted to be there because they saw the excitement through their television. It became an advertisement for the home games. In today's world, with at least right now, with the economy struggling a little bit, I think it's possible that putting all the games put them on free TV could hurt home attendance a bit. I think it's possible.
Well, I mean, the way I've always looked at it is like if you build a winner that goes out on the court, wins games, in contention, creates a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, people are going to watch the games on TV and they're going to go to the games.
Well, if you have a winner, there's never a problem.
That's what
For
it
the
comes
most
down
part.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're going through a rebuild, there's issues all over the place. Tickets are hard to sell because people are leery of investing in a team that may not be very good. That's possible. You could always spin it and try to convince them, like, hey, you want to get in now because you want to watch the growth process of guys like Scoot Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way to do it. And, for teams that win, I mean, everything else takes care of itself.
Oh, for sure. No, you ask all the great promoters, you say, what's the best promotion? Winning. Better than giving out bobblehead dolls or stuffed animals or anything else. If you win games, people are going to come.
What I'm curious about, too, is with the TV ratings, not just the Blazers, but there were numerous teams that suffered.
All throughout the league
All throughout the league with their TV ratings. I'm curious how Portland will do TV rating-wise now that access is not an issue. Because I do think one of the main reasons why there were rating issues last year, it's not so much because of the play of the team, but because people couldn't access the games.
Yeah, and a lot of that was they couldn't afford the games.
That's what I'm talking about.
When they raised the price.
People are just said, I don't need it.
Well, and I understand that. I mean, especially if, it was already known that they weren't going to be a playoff team. They weren't playing for a championship. So it was like, I'll sit this year out. And I think people looked at it that way. We'll take it a year at a time. But right now, we're not going to pay for it.
Well, that's just the reality of the economic conditions.
Yeah.
Everything's more expensive. Gas, food, housing, you name it.
Got to make decisions.
You got to make decisions. And people are already looking at their hefty streaming bill because they're paying for all these different apps and streaming services. And it's like, okay, I don't need this team right now. Now, had the Blazers been a winner or contending for a championship, TV ratings would not have been an issue because people would pay the extra dollars to be able to watch the team play.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have the group that's always going to do illegal streaming regardless of the situation just because that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, and part of that, too, is blackout policies. People tend to try to steal the games. And I think someday all these leagues are going to take a hard look at their blackout policies and wonder whether or not they should
get rid of it.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of dumb, the blackout
I
policy?
think it is, Chad. After all this time, I do think it is. I think it's kind of crazy to do that. There's no reason for it.
The restrictions and the blackouts and all the nonsense that I dealt with as a kid growing up, just wanting sports and not being able to access it, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, the Mariners were playing the Mets not too long ago. And I get on the DirecTV package I have of baseball, and I'm thinking, well, this is cool. I love the Mets announcers.
Yeah.
Nope. Couldn't get them. Had to watch the Mariner feed. That was it. And I had no choice. That's all because of their blackout policy. I would have preferred to hear the Mets announcers do the Mariner games.
I wonder how much money WGN was able to create in ad revenue showing all of those Michael Jordan games for free and people tuning in.
Oh, man.
That had to go pretty well for him, right?
Yeah.
And then TBS, for years, they carried the Braves when they were terrible. And then all of a sudden, the Braves became one of the best teams in baseball. And you got people tuning in all the time.
That was a bonanza in those days.
I mean, but it makes sense to come back to your point about making your team available and creating fans. I've never lived in Atlanta. I was living out here in Vancouver, Washington, watching the Braves, and then all of a sudden they become good. I'm like, well, I love Terry Pendleton because he used to play for the Cardinals. David Justice is one of the coolest guys I've ever seen. I kind of like Otis Nixon, and I just go down that line. I'm like, I like all these guys. The reason why is because I had access to them. They were one of the only teams on all the time. I watched them.
Yeah.
And by watching them constantly, I ended up falling in love with a lot of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Who's this John Smoltz guy? He looks pretty cool. I mean, it's amazing how many guys they had.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
I would go out of my way to watch Greg Maddox. Documentary on him coming out, too.
He's
Big
a unique.
documentary on him.
I like listening to him talk.
Oh, man.
He's a thinking man's player,
What an artist.
artist. The way he could throw pitches, the way he could work the count. He would set guys up. He knew what he was doing. Very smart.
Yeah.
And one of the best pitchers of all time. One of the best pitchers of my lifetime. No question about it. But he didn't overpower guys. He did it in a different sort of way.
The Braves on those days, we were so glad when we finally got cable to see the Cubs and the Braves on cable every day.
Yeah.
What a treat that was for people who didn't. That was the only baseball we had access to for a long time.
Well, I'd watch the Cub games because I wanted to hear Harry Carey.
Yeah, of course.
And Stoney working together. I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought Harry Carey was awesome. I loved him back then. So I'd watch the Cubby games. And I would follow Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg.
Yeah, but you had to like Skip Carey on the Braves games because that was one funny man.
Yeah, Skip Carey was great. But Carey and Van Weeren are my two favorites. But the Chicago Bulls, I couldn't believe I could watch all the MJ games. You kidding me? Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of our time, free.
Yeah.
Every game, Godfather.
Except I think when they were on national TV. I don't think they had
but
those.
then I would just tune
Then
into
you could
NBC.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watching MJ games was not a problem.
Yeah, we got so many of the Braves games. We're big Braves fans, everybody in the household. It was disappointing because every once in a while they had a game they couldn't telecast for one reason or another. And Skip would always say, those games are available on Braves radio because we're not going to be on. And then one day he read a letter from a woman in Salem, Oregon, he said. She wrote to them and said, hey, where can I buy one of those Braves radios?
Let me just
That's
list
a
off
joke.
some of these names here. The 91 Braves is one of my favorite baseball teams of all time.
Mhm.
Steve Avery,
Got hurt. Too bad.
Mike Bilecki, Tony Castillo, Jim Clancy, Marvin Freeman, Tom Glavine, Charlie Leibrandt, Rick Mailer, Kent Merker, Jeff Parrott, Alejandro Pena, Dan Petrie, Armando Reynoso, Doug Sisk, Pete Smith, John Smoltz, Randy St. Clair, Mike Stanton, and Mark Wohlers, Mike Heath, Greg Olson, Jerry Williard, Francisco Cabrera, the catchers, Mike Bell, Rafael Belliard, Jeff Blauser, Sid Bream, Vinny Castilla, Danny Heap, Brian Hunter, Mark Lemke, Terry Pendleton, Jeff Treadway, and one of my all-time favorite Braves, Ron Gant. I mean, just go down the line. Tommy Gregg, Dave Justice, Keith Mitchell, Otis Nixon, Deion Sanders, and Lonnie Smith. I love that team, and I'm still pissed that they lost to the Twins in the World Series, one of the greatest World Series I've ever seen. The 91 and the 2001 World Series did not have the outcomes I wanted, but were gut-wrenching, fabulous television. 7-game series.
Jack Morris.
The forkball. He went the whole game, too.
I think it was 10 innings of shutout ball. Try doing that in today's world.
And Kirby Puckett.
Yeah.
Jeez. I'll never get over that one. You know, some losses, some series, you're like, that was a great series, but the result was
They
embittering.
played in that dang dome too, where it was total chaos because of the sound level.
Oh, it was off the charts.
Couldn't hear anything.
All right, high fives coming up next. All right, Godfather. High fives. Anyone you want to hand one out to?
Oh, boy. Some days it's tougher than others, you know?
I don't think so.
Oh, you got somebody in mind? You go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to hand one out to TMZ for doing fine work in the community.
Really? What kind of work are they doing, Chad?
All of the hard-hitting stories that we care about,
Hmm.
including photos of politicians in bikinis showcasing their artwork. So there you go. And thank you to Michael Shacker for pointing that out to us. We appreciate that. Now, you said Nicolas Cage is going to play John Madden.
Yeah, they just announced today they're going to be making a movie about John Madden, mostly a biopic regarding the video game. I don't know how much this movie is going to be about his coaching career, but Nicolas Cage is going to be playing John Madden. Just got announced today. I'm looking forward to that movie, even though if it might take another 2 years till it comes out.
I'm trying to think. We talked about this once. I looked up the data. I think he turned down stock options. Madden turned down like stock options, which would have made him a gajillionaire in the video game or something of that nature.
Really? I thought he had stock options. I thought he was making a lot of money from it.
Well, he did make a lot of money. I'm saying that he opted one route, which turned out to be the wrong decision in terms of the maximum amount of dollars. Let's see here. Oh, thanks for chiming in, Godfather. Appreciate that. Nothing like dead air.
Well, if they are going to make a movie about John Madden, they have to have the clip of the early version of the game where if your player got hurt, an ambulance would come onto the field and just run over the players. I'm hoping to see that on the big screen.
Yeah. I can't see Nicolas Cage playing John Madden. I'm sorry. He's a good actor and all, but that's a stretch for him, I think.
I'm just glad Nicolas Cage got a movie role in like a major movie, not one of those straight to streaming movies I always seem to see on the apps. He makes about 10 movies a year.
Here it is. John Madden turned down the opportunity to buy an unlimited number of options for EA stock in its initial public offering, a decision he later called the dumbest thing I ever did in my life. There you go. Good call, John.
Well,
come on, coach, step it up. You don't know at the time. It just turned out to be, that would have been, that's one of those deals where you become $100 millionaire with that type of purchase.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he ever lacked for money. I would say that.
No, but that's life-changing money right there.
Mm-hmm.
He made good money, but we're talking about, that would have been worth hundreds of millions.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah.
Good. Glad to see you care about John Madden's financial situation, Godfather. All right, so we got dead air from the Godfather. He doesn't care about Madden and his stock options. So what else is on your mind, Godfather?
Well, I want to give my high five to Jim Joyce.
Great, a guy that blew a perfect game. That's a good idea.
He's going to have to live through that documentary again this weekend and hear about it once more and relive probably the worst call he ever made in his life.
Will you do me a favor? Will you please reach out to him and see if he'll come on the show next week?
Yeah, I did today. I reached out. Yeah.
Did you ask him to come on the show?
Today I did, yeah.
Oh, you asked him to come on.
I
you
did.
reached out. I didn't.
That's when
you're friends with him, so you could have reached out to him for anything.
He's actually on a grand jury right now. That's why.
For what?
I don't know for what, but he's on the grand jury. So that's fairly
here in
important.
town.
Well, he lives in a suburb, but I don't know if it's.
But he lives here in the area, right?
Yeah.
Where does he live?
County.
Beaverton? Is
Washington
he Multnomah County? Washington County?
Washington County, yeah.
He lives out in what, Beaverton?
Yeah. He always did. I think that's where he still lives, yeah. He had a son who played football at Beaverton High and then out at Linfield. Pretty good football player. High school football coach now, I think. Jim's a good guy.
Is he ever going to get over that call, or is that just going to be with him forever?
I think he's gotten over it. It's just people keep shoving it back in his face all the time. That's not fun.
Do you think he cares about John Madden turning down EA stock?
No, I don't think he does.
What do you think about that Lauren Boebert tattoo?
Yeah, I think that's nice.
Shaq, are you a fan of that tattoo?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Can I vote for her?
How long would it take? That's a rather extravagant tattoo. To lie there naked for that long and have somebody sticking a needle in you, that took some
I don't
It-
understand. I don't know. I'm not a tattoo guy, so I don't know
Yeah.
how any of that works. It just
Well, there's certain parts of your body that it's no doubt painful.
It's genius to put it out there. That's going to get her votes.
Oh,
she
because
just, she just moved, so she's running in a new district, so she
Oh,
needs
she
to get
is?
new fans.
do you think? Are you suggesting people would vote based on someone being attractive?
Yes.
Yeah, I
I
can see that
guess.
happening.
That's the photo she should put in the voter pamphlet. If she
Who-
wants to win.
Depends on the district she's in.
Okay,
I
honest
think some
question: who do you think is
districts-
hotter, her or AOC?
Wow. It's a tie.
Shacker struggles with these political questions.
AOC's hot, man. She's hot. She is.
She ain't hanging out on a beach in a bikini with tattoos.
Do you
Different
mind
kinda hot.
tattoos? Do you like tattoos?
No,
Do you have tattoos?
none.
I'm never going
I
to get
think
a
people
tattoo.
are gross with tattoos.
I got one.
You think people are what?
Gross when they have tattoos. It's
well,
gross.
Yeah, but you didn't get the tattoo by choice.
Yeah,
You
I
lost a bet.
No, I didn't lose a bet. I was paid to do it. I got money for doing it.
For the KPAM.
Yeah, I got money.
But you wouldn't have done it had you not gotten money for it.
Correct. Yeah, I got $500 for a little quarter-size tattoo on my arm.
I know, but you didn't wake up and think, I could use some ink today.
Oh, no, never.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. You didn't get the tattoo because you wanted it. You got it because someone paid you for it.
Yeah, but I got one. I have one. That's
I
all
know,
the
but you
question
didn't get
was.
it because you wanted a tattoo.